3 times for the love, y'all, and 4 times for the truth. And some days are a nightmare, and some dreams come true, but the Lord's still right there. It's just deja vu, oh, it's just deja vu. Deja vu, it's just deja vu, y'all.
Vlog number 7, playing overseas. What does it take to get over there? Let's get into it. Right now, there's a lot of attention on overseas basketball with the Ball family. So LiAngelo Ball, LaMelo Ball, the 2 younger brothers of Lonzo Ball, just signed a pro contract in Lithuania to play overseas. Let's just focus on guys here in the US trying to play basketball overseas. It's really tough because it's what I call a flooded market. It's a saturated market. There's a lot of really good basketball players out there trying to play overseas, and there's limited spots. In the teams that I played with overseas, we were only allowed 1 or 2 American imports. So some leagues only have 10 to 15 teams. You're only talking about 20 to 30 spots for American imports, and the rest is made up of what's called domestic players. Those are players that are from that country or hold a citizenship from that country. If you're trying to play overseas, you're going to need to do a few things. Number 1, let's just be realistic. Okay, is it realistic that you're going to be able to play at a level overseas? You got to remember, it's only the top percentile, a very small percentage of players who were great in college get opportunities to play overseas. Number 1, you need to be honest with yourself. I get a lot of guys who didn't play high school ball, who barely played in college, or guys who didn't play either one contact me and think I'm gonna go play professional basketball when you struggled at an amateur level in high school and college. You gotta remember, it's a small percentage of the best players that actually get an opportunity to play overseas and get a professional contract. With there being limited spots to play overseas, as I mentioned, they're not gonna take a chance on a guy who wasn't a star in college. Usually overseas, what I found is they're looking for one of 2 things. 1, they're looking for size, so big guys, because most of the domestic players overseas are already guards or perimeter players. Or they're looking for stats. Did you have a great resume in college? It doesn't necessarily have to be Division I, but that definitely helps. But how successful were you? You know, how many points did you average? Were you a specialist? Were you already a great player or a star at a college level before you consider pursuing an overseas career? Number 2, what I would say is you need an agent. Now, the way player agents work is they basically are hired by you to get you a job. They're the ones that shop you around. They contact other GMs, other clubs, other coaches, and they basically give your resume and they pitch you to this team, whether that's through highlights, player profile, exposure camps, whatever it may be. They pitch you to that team to try to land you a contract. I see this all the time. There may be a great player, but he's got a trash agent. The agent is not really working hard for this player. He's not out there hustling as hard as you are on the court. He's got to be hustling, connecting with other GMs, coaches, clubs to get you a job. On the flip side, if you've got a great agent, and I've been fortunate, I had a great agent when I played over in the Asian market. If you got a great agent, he'll get you a job. He'll have great connections. That's the key. Is he connected? What's his network look like? Can he connect you to the teams that are going to give you a job or an opportunity, or at the very least a tryout? Number 3, the last part is, man, the day and age that we live in, the world is connected through social media. You can actually reach out and contact these coaches, these clubs, these GMs. You can reach out to them, connect with them, give them your highlights, give them your player profile right now. So my advice is you need to be training, obviously physically and mentally, to always be ready, because you're considered a hired gun when you're overseas. You might be here one day and then you fly out the next. I was fortunate to train with about 8 to 10 pro players that play overseas right now, and one in particular, we're training one day. He calls me up that night and says, hey, I gotta leave, I'm flying out to go to this country, I just got signed for a contract. So within 24 hours, he was going to the gym, hanging out at a movie, and then all of a sudden he's got to jump on a flight. He's going to a training camp to get ready to play, and that's just kind of how it works getting overseas. For me personally, I had 2 pro contracts. My first 2 pro contracts fell through. I ended up actually training for over a year getting ready for my first pro contract because I felt like I was getting ready to go. I had no idea. Obviously, that was one of the longest years of my life because I was so antsy to play overseas. But it was over a year that I was training every day, working on my game, always staying ready, making sure I was in shape, ready to go. The reason why I bring this up is because it really frustrates me when people hit me up and they say, hey, I want to go overseas, but I haven't been doing anything. You haven't been training, you haven't been working out, you haven't been in the gym, and yet you think you're ready to go to a professional level. Hot topic right now, like I said earlier, is the Ball brothers, okay? One is supposed to be a junior in high school, the other one was at UCLA with that whole China ordeal. Basically, you got two teenagers that just signed to play pro basketball in Lithuania. Even though it's a low-level league, still it's professional basketball with grown men. There's a lot of opinions going around about this, but before I give mine, let me defer to a Hall of Famer and all-time great, Scottie Pippen, also Steven Jackson. Let's hear what they have to say.
The Ball brothers, his younger two brothers, were courtside for that game, fresh off signing those contracts to go play in Lithuania.
In the long run, it's not going to be good for neither one of these players because I think they're going to go through a bit of a culture shock, leaving, having to try to go play in another country, try to play for a coach who don't speak English, try to play with other players who don't speak English. It's just going to be a very culture shock to them that I don't think they're going to last.
I think he have an option to go to the NBA no more after everything that's happened. Overseas is probably his only option. The youngest one, I wanted him to finish high school. I want him to finish his high school career, be a McDonald's All-American, experience all the stuff that you experience from being a great high school player, then make that decision.
People are getting so sick and tired of the dad that it's going to be hard for those guys to have any success going forward. I mean,
you basically got two teenagers that are trying to make a transition from their life here in the States to playing professional basketball with grown men. Now let me say this, I know they're extremely talented. But there is a difference playing against grown men who are playing for their lives, who have worked their entire life for this opportunity and grinding for it, versus playing against basically kids or AAU. As you move up in levels, I've talked about this, players get more athletic, the basketball IQ goes up, the skill level goes up. But what I'm focusing more on is that transition from being at home to overseas, especially now that I hear they have a non-English speaking coach, probably a non-English speaking culture. A lot of guys just aren't built for that. They're not built for that transition of being away from your home, your family, the things that make you comfortable, especially as a teenager. So that's what I mainly consider, because you know, you have to factor in that when you play overseas as an import player, you're expected to come in and be the LeBron, score all the points. You're probably making the most money in most cases. And so there is a real jealousy sometimes between teams. There's a real conflict because, let's be honest, it's pro basketball. There's money on the line. People's families and livelihoods are on the line. Everybody wants to shine. From the GM to the coach on down to the last player on the team in professional basketball, everybody's life is on the line. Everybody wants to shine, and it's about winning and getting results. So if you have some kids coming in, what do you think these teammates are going to be like towards these kids? You know the opponent is going to go at them, but also you got to factor in that they've got to make that transition with their coach and their teammates, which might not be that easy, especially when they come off as entitled kids. And I'm not even against them. I know they're all three talented. Obviously, Lonzo is in the NBA. He's talented. But that is the main thing that I factor in. Getting overseas is so difficult. But for it to be handed to these kids who truly haven't earned it yet, and there's other guys, thousands of guys waiting in line, hungry, who's worked their life for that opportunity, I just feel like it's a situation that's going to set them up for failure. And the way overseas basketball works is, if you do not produce on a contract, you don't get a second contract. This is not the NBA. There's no player unions. There's no guarantees here. You got to produce and fight for your life every game. I've seen a player score 30 points, get 15 rebounds, play a great game, but their team lost a close game and that team cut that player. He outperformed everybody on the court, but because he was the import, he takes the majority of the blame. Within 24 hours, he was flying back home. It is a cutthroat business, and it's very difficult to play under that pressure as a grown man and professional who's honed your skills and developed. Steven Jackson and Scottie Pippen were talking about just the development side, how it takes time That's my only main concern. Has nothing to do with them and their goals to make it to the NBA. That's phenomenal. Obviously, they're very talented, but I'm saying if you put kids, teenagers in with grown men who have been playing basketball for a longer period and developed, even though they might not be as talented, they're hungry. Their families are on the line, their family names on the line, their livelihoods on the line. It's probably not gonna work out really good. As always, thank you for watching the vlog. I hope this helps you guys. Leave me a comment, shoot me a message, and make sure you subscribe. I'm gonna come back with more content about playing overseas. If there's something that you're wondering about, shoot me a message. I'll try to throw it in another vlog in the future. God bless.